Hi, today we're going to be talking about quadratic expressions and how to factor them. Now, first of all, a quadratic expression has three terms with degrees of 2, 1, and 0. Now, I'll give you an idea of what these things look like. Now, an example of a quadratic expression would be, doesn't matter what your coefficient is at the beginning, I'll go with 4. Oh, there we go. X, now notice I'm going to use squared, which gives it a degree of 2. I can do plus, I'll just do like 5x, and if you notice there's not going to be an exponent here, which gives it a degree of 1, and then here I'll just pop in any number 10. This would be a quadratic expression. The reason is we have the 2 here, which makes our x squared. We don't have an exponent here, but we can always pop in a 1 if we want to. And then over here, our degree would be 0. So that's what makes it a quadratic expression. Another example would be like x squared minus 5x plus, let's say, 8. That's a quadratic expression. As you can see again, we have an exponent of 2. No exponent here, so we can assume 1. And then we have a number here, so 0 degrees. That's what makes this a quadratic expression. Now, we're going to explore a little bit with standard form as well. Now, quadratics have a standard form. So when you have standard form for a quadratic expression, or in this case we'll do an equation. A standard form will look something like this. Here's the form. A x squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Any standard quadratic expression is going to be in this form, where you're going to have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. It has to equal 0 or else it won't be in standard form. So an example would be like 2x squared plus 4x. We can even do a minus here, that's fine, equals 0. That's standard form. You could even have no coefficient here. Plus, we'll say 10x plus 1 equals 0. These are all standard forms because, as you can see, x squared, have a coefficient, and then x by itself, and then a constant term here, followed by 0 at the end. This is standard form for quadratics. And you're going to see why we like to have it end in 0. This is important. That's very important. Very important. You're going to see why in a moment, because we're going to start factoring these bad boys. But again, standard form always takes this form. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Now we're going to look at a few of these, and we're going to factor them. Alright, I'm going to show you how to factor one of these bad boys. We're going to start with an example here. We'll go with 8x squared minus 7x minus 18. First of all, I'm going to identify my A, my B, and my C here. That's important. Now for A, if you notice, I don't have any coefficient here. If there's not a coefficient in front of a variable, you can always assume 1, because 1 times that is always going to equal itself. So if there's nothing there, we're just going to use 1 for our A. Now for B, you'll notice I have negative 7 here, so that would be negative 7. And for C, I have negative 18, and I have negative 18 right here. Okay, so I'm going to factor this. The key is I want two factors of 18 whose sum will give me negative 7. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to make a little list here, right, of factors of 18. I will start with, let's see, we're doing negative 18. I'll do negative 18 and 1. Now if I add those together, I get negative 17. My goal is I want it to equal B. In my case, B up here equals negative 7. So negative 18 plus 1 gives me negative 17. This will not work, so I'm going to cross it out. Alright, I'm going to try another one here. How about negative 9 and positive 2. If I add negative 9 and positive 2, their sum is going to be negative 7. And hey, wait a second. That's what we're looking for up here. That's what b equals. So once I get these two factors, this is what I want. I want two factors of c whose sum will give me b. And that's how you're going to factor this, because then you're going to separate it out to x in parentheses and then x in parentheses down here. Now what I do is I take these two factors and I put them next to my x's. X minus 9, x plus 2. And I have just factored this quadratic equation, or expression rather, because it doesn't equal 0. And I'll show you why this works. I'm going to take this on the next page. Let's see, I'm going to copy and paste in here. Let's see if I can do the whole thing. No, I don't want to do that. It's alright. Let's try that again. Okay. I didn't want to do that again. Alright, okay. We go to the next page. Alright, now let's try that. Of course, it's not doing it. That's alright. I'll make this work. Alright, so I'm going to write that out. What I just had. X minus 9, x plus 2. If I multiply these out, you remember, use the distributive property. Boom, 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 boom. I get x squared plus 2x minus 9x minus 18. Guess what? I can simplify this. X squared. And now since those are like terms, I would get minus 7x minus 18. And I've just gotten back to where I started. That's why it works like it does. We're going to try a few examples here. Get you the hang of this. Alright, let's try another one. So let's see. Let's try one with some positive values. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. Let's see. X squared plus 5x plus 6. So I'm going to have to factor this. Now in this case, a equals 1. A is always going to equal 1 for now. Not until the next lesson. For right now, a is always going to equal 1. B equals 5. And then c equals 6. Now again, I want factors of c whose sum equals b. Alright, so since I've got c equals 6, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a list of factors of 6. I can go with 6 and 1. Let's start with that. Now if I do 6 plus 1, I get 7. Yikes, that sucks. That's not going to work. Boom, get rid of it. Let's try two other factors here. Hey, how about 2 and 3? 2 times 3 gives me 6, doesn't it? And guess what happens when I add them? I get 5. What do you know? 5 also happens to equal b up here. So I have factored this. Now all I have to do, I'm going to take two sets of parentheses, x and x. X is always going to be in there. And then I'll make it plus, plus, and I've got 2 and 3. And I have just factored this quadratic. Now eventually you're going to be solving for x. That's why we do this, because you're might be thinking, alright, why do I have to take this thing and why do I have to factor it? What's the point of it? The reason is eventually you're going to take these and you're going to be able to solve for x. But that's another day. For right now, we just want you to get to this point right here. It takes a little bit of work, but the more practice you get with it, it gets pretty easy. So let's review the steps. Alright, best way to do steps is to actually try it out in the problem. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to pull up another one here. Here's one. X squared minus 5x minus 14. Okay, step 1. Identify A, B, and C. In this case, A is going to equal 1. B is my coefficient in front of x, which would be negative 5. And C equals negative 14. Okay, step 2. Find factors of C whose sum equals b. Sometimes it's going to be easier than others. It's not always going to be easy. Sometimes it might be. Let's try this. So in this case, b equals 5, negative 5, excuse me. So I need to find factors of negative 14 whose sum equals negative 5. For some of you, it might be popping in your head already. Alright, so I'm going to make my list here. I can start with, let's do negative 14 and 1. If I add those together, I get negative 13. Does negative 13 equal b? Nah, b's supposed to be negative 5, so I can rule this out. That's not going to work. Now, what the heck, if I wanted to, I could do 14 and negative 1, because, those are factors of negative 14. But guess what? When I add those together, I get positive 13. That's not going to work. Luckily, 14 doesn't have that many factors. So I'm going to jump into my next set here. How about negative 7 and positive 2? When I multiply negative 7 times positive 2, I'll get negative 14. Now, if I add them together, my sum is negative 5. And guess what? Perfect. That's what I like, because I want a sum that would equal negative 5. So now I'm almost done. Then you write, and step 3, write 2 sets of parentheses and add each factor to x. So in this case, I have negative 7 and positive 2, so I do x. Now I could do plus negative 7, minus 7, doesn't matter. In this case, I'll do plus negative 7, doesn't make a difference. And then x plus 2. And let's solve this. So that's what you do. Identify a, b, and c. And again, for right now, a is going to equal 1. Next time we do this, we're going to try somewhere a doesn't equal 1. But for right now, that's all we care about. And then we find factors of c, whose sum equals b. Then we write 2 sets of parentheses and add each factor to x. And that's how we arrive at our answer. And this would be your answer for that. So factoring x squared minus 5x minus 14, my final answer would be x plus negative 7 times x plus 2. And again, you can have x minus 7. That's fine. Same thing, right? All right, hopefully you're getting the hang of this. We're going to try a few. All right. Here's another fun one. Everyone loves these factors. X squared minus 16x plus 63. All right, I'm going to identify my a, b, and c. A equals 1. B equals negative 16. And c equals 63. So I need factors of 63, positive 63, bear in mind, that are going to give me a sum of negative 16. There are a number of ways you can try this. I like to make my list, so I'm going to do that. Factors of 63. Now, if I add 6 plus 3, I know that equals 9, so I know 9 is going to be a factor. So I'm going to do, let's see, they have to equal positive 63. And when I add them, they have to equal negative 16. So here's the trick. You want to remember that when C is positive and B is negative, right? You can sometimes go with 2 negative values. So I'm going to do that. Negative 9 and negative 7. Now watch this. If I multiply negative 9 times negative 7, I get positive 63. Pretty cool. If I add these, negative 9 plus negative 7, I get negative 16, which, what do you know? That's what I want here. So I have found my factors. X minus 9, and then x minus 7. And I am done. That's it. That's all it is. All right, I'm going to give you one more of these, and then we're going to let you loose on your own, and I'm going to let you try the assignment in Math Excel. All right, let's try another one. Ooh, here's a good one. All right. X squared minus x minus 20. And you know what? What the heck? I'm going to take x out of here. I'm going to make it a different variable just so you can see that it works if you don't have an x there. I'm going to go with e this time. Don't be thrown off if you see a different variable there. Same approach. Alright, so I'm going to identify a. A equals 1 because I don't have a coefficient. Now for b, if you notice I have negative e here. There's no number in front of e. There's not a number there. Remember, you can always pop in a 1. So b in this case would equal negative 1. Now c is going to equal negative 20. So now I have negative 20. I need to find two factors of negative 20 that when I add them, they're going to give me an answer of negative 1. So I'm going to make my list right here. And it might immediately jump in your head. If that's the case, awesome. If it takes you a little while, I'm going to show you what it looks like when you try it out a little bit. Alright, so I need two numbers who give me negative 20 when I multiply them. When I add them, they give me negative 1. Let's try negative 10 and 2. Because if I multiply negative 10 times 2, I get negative 20. And you know what, maybe I'll just move this over just so it's right underneath the negative 20. It might look better visually, so we're going to do that. Oh, we're good. Alright, so I'm going to do negative 10, positive 2. Now I multiply as I get negative 20, but when I add them, I get negative 8. That doesn't give me b, so I'm going to get rid of that. Now, let's see. I could try negative 2 and positive 10, but I know it's going to give me 8, and that's not going to help me here. Let's see. Say I try 5 times negative 4. If I multiply those, I get negative 20, but if I add them, I get positive 1. I'm almost there, but not quite. Let's try and switch up those signs now. How about negative 5 and positive 4? If I do that out, I get negative 1. Perfect. I like that because that's what I'm looking for here. So I am done. Make my parentheses x minus 5, x plus 4, and I have factored this quadratic. It's going to take trial and error. For some of you might look at this and the answer might come into your head right away. Some of you might have to make a list like this and try it. That's okay. This takes practice to get good with this. This is not going to be easy, but I have faith in you guys. Alright, so your assignment is in Math Excel. Best of luck, and use this video if you have any trouble, because as you can see, we went through a few examples, and hopefully this can help you out.